Hello. Welcome back to the Days of Our Lives channel. Today we will learn about the issue of Alex Kyriakis hatching a bold move to steer Xander and Sarah back together and whether that audacious plan has any chance of actually working. In Salem's combustible climate, the setup, Stephanie Johnson's decision to take on PR work for Titan is the domino that sets everything in motion, placing her at a strategy table with Xander where image, damage control, and personal entanglements collide in classic Salem style. That meeting isn't just about press releases or crisis talking points, it's about how Xander wants to be perceived as a father, a leader at Titan, and a man worthy of a second chance, which, intentionally or not, opens a lane for reconciliation narratives to creep into business strategy. With Stephanie's influence rising, Titan's messaging becomes the canvas on which Xander can paint a revised version of himself, leaner, steadier, and unmistakably devoted to Sarah and Victoria, even as lingering grudges and recent blow-ups threaten to undo the facelift. Alex's apology. Parallel to the PR pivot, Alex lands in a moment of reckoning with Sarah, feeling compelled to apologize for the messes she's been shoved into, some of which he helped create or enable in Titan's ever-spinning orbit. It's not merely a polite sorry. Spoilers hint he recognizes the emotional collateral of corporate games and romantic crossfires, and that recognition softens his posture toward Sarah's pain and Xander's frustration. That contrition becomes the door to a bigger idea. If Sarah still loves Xander and Alex senses she does, then why not find a way to remove obstacles, control the narrative, and stage a path back to each other that feels intentional rather than accidental? Reading Sarah's heart? Alex's calculus seems simple but shrewd. Beneath the anger and missteps, Sarah's feelings for Xander haven't evaporated. They've just been buried under custody scares, workplace skirmishes, and public embarrassments that keep reopening old wounds. Even recent chaos like flashpoints involving Philip, public jealousy, and the constant tug-of-war over who's the better partner and parent suggests unresolved love rather than clean breaks, which Alex interprets as a green light for gentle interference. His wager is that if the external noise is managed through PR guardrails, controlled encounters, and a couple of well-timed nudges, Sarah's sentiment will surface in a way that Xander can meet sincerely rather than defensively. The PR chessboard. Stephanie's Titan assignment gives Alex a lever, structured messaging that frames Xander as a steady executive, a devoted dad, and a man who owns his past without being swallowed by a tan arc that plays well in both corporate and personal spheres. Expect a two-tier plan. First, de-escalate the headlines and tamp down the brawls and outbursts that give rivals ammunition. Second, seed humanizing story fill in 3 pitches, community spotlights, even father-daughter moments with Victoria ethic counter-program Xander's rougher reputation. The strategy meeting with Stephanie and Xander becomes less about spin and more about reintroducing Xander to Salem as a man who protects what he loves without torching the room, a tone Sarah might actually trust again if the follow-through feels real. Xander's crossroads. For Xander, the hardest ask isn't to press conference, it's restraint. Stop swinging at provocations, stop letting rivals bait him into cuffs or headlines, and start acting like a partner even when he isn't officially one yet. He's being nudged to approach Sarah with consistency first and gestures second, which flips the usual Xander playbook of grand plans that crash into old resentments before they can land. There's also a business complication. Titan needs results, and any misstep gets magnified. Xander must juggle executive pressures while proving he can be the stable center of a familiar balance Stephanie's PR scaffolding can support if he buys in. Inventing the nudge. Here's how Alex's shocking plan could look in practical terms. Stage a non-romantic, purpose-driven collaboration between Sarah and Xander around a Titan community health initiative that spotlights pediatric care and parental advocacy territory that aligns with Sarah's medical ethos and Xander's fatherhood arc. Pair that with a low-stakes private debrief after the even tearing by Alex, but framed as a logistics wrap so the two can speak without an audience, camera, or corporate pressure. letting genuine emotions surface without theatrics. Layer in Stephanie's guardrails media blackout on the personal angle, prepared statements if rivals stir drama, and a tight guest listo reduce opportunities for sabotage from serial meddlers orbiting Titan and University Hospital. Obstacles and spoilers. The plan doesn't exist in a vacuum. Salem is a city of tripwires and other arcstrial aftershocks, Kristen and EJ maneuvering, Gabby's schemes, and Philip's volatile proximity can easily collide with Alex's reconciliation roadmap. Recent rumblings about strategy sessions, apology tour, and Alex giving Xander advice on winning Sarah suggest momentum, but any slip, say a jealous display at the bistro or a corporate leak could set everyone back to story beats. That's why Alex's approach hinges on timing and tone. He needs calm waters long enough for Sarah to feel safe examining what she still wants without being shamed by Salem's chorus. Stephanie's quiet power. Though not the architect of the romance angle, Stephanie becomes the stabilizer. She's the one who can keep Titan's messaging clean, coach Xander away from reactive impulses, and gently shield Sarah from ambush optics that would make any reunion look like a PR stunt. Her rapport with both parties allows her to translate feelings into strategy, helping Xander speak plainly and helping Sarah feel seen beyond headlines and custody filings, which is often the difference between a truce and a restart. And as Stephanie juggles her own creative ambitions and boundaries around Titan, she's uniquely positioned to make sure the professional scaffolding serves the personal healing, not the other way around. Will Alex succeed? Yes, if success is defined as getting Sarah and Xander to a pressure-free conversation where they acknowledge lingering love and agree to a structured private trial run with boundaries and checkpoints, Alex has a real shot at pulling this off in the short term. Long-term success depends on Xander's discipline and Sarah's trust recovery. If Xander embraces the PR guardrails and avoids combusting at provocations, the path to a formal reunion looks increasingly plausible given recent signals of mutual yearning. In Salem terms, that's a rare alignment of strategy, timing, and heartened while nothing is guaranteed. The smart money, says Alex's plan, sets the stage for a genuine reconciliation arc rather than another circular heartbreak loop. Days of Our Lives recap, secrets, schemes, and fatherly sacrifices shake Salem Tuesday, August 26, 2025. The town of Salem has never been short on drama, but the events that unfolded today on Days of Our Lives showed us just how tangled family loyalty, corporate power, and personal grudges can become. From backroom deals to whispered confessions, every conversation seemed like it could change the future forever. Let's take a closer look at everything that happened in today's explosive episode and why it matters. Steve gets the truth, but at what cost? The episode began with Steve Johnson Patch to his old friends sitting in his office, the phone pressed tightly against his ear. On the other end was Paul, feeding him crucial intelligence straight from the ISA. The verdict was clear. Philip Kyriakis had been caught red-handed in an elaborate fraud. Steve, never one to mince words, muttered to himself once the call ended, "Philip, you're a spoiled brat." It wasn't just frustration. It was disappointment, the kind that comes when someone who should know better lets greed and arrogance lead them astray. Without wasting a second, Steve pulled out his phone and sent a text to his daughter, Stephanie. He needed her in his office immediately. But Stephanie, as usual, was already busy trying to put out fires of her own. Stephanie and Xander, a dangerous alliance. Across town, Stephanie was seated with Xander Cook, hashing out a public relations strategy that might make or break both of their futures. The problem: Steve had just discovered Philip's fraud, and if that news ever went public, the fallout could be catastrophic for Titan Industries. Stephanie, sharp as ever, believed she could spin the story to protect Philip not because she trusted him, but because it was the only way to safeguard the people she cared about. She suggested that Xander draft the official legal paperwork naming Philip as co-CEO. Xander's face darkened. His jaw tightened, and the frown he shot across the desk at Stephanie said more than words ever could. The thought of elevating Philip, a man he neither respected nor trusted, filled him with rage. But Stephanie pressed on, pointing out that this move could actually protect Xander in the long run. If Philip's fraud was ever revealed and Xander hadn't taken steps to secure his cousin's position, Philip could easily retaliate by reporting the brutal beating Xander had once inflicted on him. That skeleton in Xander's closet was something Stephanie knew Philip could and would use. Do this now, Stephanie urged, or risk losing everything. For Xander, the choice was as bitter as it was clear. Alex eavesdrops and stirs the pot. As soon as Stephanie left, another Kiriakis cousin slipped into the office. Alex, curious and perhaps a bit too nosy for his own good, had overheard just enough of the conversation to piece together the strategy. Unlike Xander, Alex thought Stephanie's plan made perfect sense. He praised her insight and told Xander he should be grateful to have her in his corner. But Xander, stubborn as always, bristled at the suggestion. He grumbled that hiring her was nothing but a waste of time and money. Alex, loyal to his girlfriend and unwilling to let anyone speak badly of her, shot back with a fiery defense. He even went so far as to suggest that Xander take anger management classes with Marlene Evans. The jab was meant to sting, and it did. But behind Xander's silence, his pride boiled. A father's promise to his daughter. Later, Xander was seen outside the local bar, walking hand in hand with his daughter, Victoria. His expression softened around her, but his words revealed the storm brewing inside him. He told Victoria that no matter what anyone else might think, a man like Philip, a cheat and a liar, did not deserve kindness. It was a rare glimpse into Xander's worldview. Harsh, uncompromising, and guided more by instinct than diplomacy. Just then, his phone buzzed. A text from Marlene confirmed his appointment for the following day. Perhaps Alex's jab about anger management wasn't so far off after all. Stephanie faces her father. The most emotional moment of the episode came when Stephanie finally arrived at her father's office. Steve wasted no time confronting her. He had discovered Philip's fraud, and he could tell from her eyes that she already knew. What followed was an honest, heart-wrenching exchange between father and daughter. Stephanie, usually so composed, admitted everything she knew and pleaded with her father to keep it a secret. She argued that revealing the truth would only hurt everyone involved, and she begged him to trust her judgment. Steve, torn between his role as a private investigator and his role as a father, made a painful choice. He promised Stephanie that he would let it go. His loyalty to his daughter outweighed his duty to his clients. But Steve is no fool. As he leaned back in his chair, his voice carried a warning. Secrets like this never stay hidden forever. Why this episode matters. Tuesday's episode highlighted what Days of Our Lives has always done best, weaving personal relationships into broader storylines about loyalty, power, and survival. Steve's dilemma reminds us of the eternal struggle between duty and family. For older viewers especially, his choice to protect his daughter over professional obligation feels both relatable and deeply moving. Stephanie's calculated gamble shows how the younger generation is navigating Salem's treacherous waters. She's smart, resourceful, but also dangerously close to being trapped in the very schemes she thinks she can control. Xander's inner conflict paints him as more than a brute. His devotion to his daughter and his suspicion of Philip make him a complex figure torn between his violent past and the possibility of redemption. Alex's fiery defense of Stephanie adds a touch of youthful bravado, showing us how love can blind a man to the dangers swirling around him. In Salem, no one's secrets remain buried forever. Today's episode left us with more questions than answers. How long can Stephanie keep Philip's fraud under wraps? Will Steve's silence come back to haunt him? And can Xander really hold his temper in check, even with Marlena's help? One thing is certain, the Kiriakis family's web of lies is tightening, and when it snaps, the fallout will shake Salem to its core.